How's it going, Global Hack Week? That was me clearing my throat in the background. Didn't realize my mute wasn't on, but I appreciate y'all being here. Once again, it's Rosendo from MLH. Love that everyone is still hanging out in the live stream here. Hope y'all enjoyed our previous broadcast. If anyone's getting through the ad block, just let me know. I will hold for them. But for the time being, I just wanted to get y'all all warmed up for the next workshop that we have in store. If you're joining us in chat, please let me know. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what you love about data. And also let us know what you know about Snowflake, if anything. How's it going, Abhinav? It's nice to see you as well. Rosendro, I like that. It's my the shortening of my name and my full name combined, which is quite amazing. Yeah, joining us from India. Love to see it. Love to see it. I am here in Queens, New York. It is December. We're celebrating data. And what better way to celebrate December than with a product that just justifies the weather of the winter that we have here in New York. It's called Snowflake. So today we're going to be getting an introduction to serverless data workflows with Snowflake, and we have a really special individual who is a super expert at everything Snowflake related. I hope I'm not exaggerating or putting too many too many expectations on you, Rita. But without any further ado, I'll go ahead and bring Rita up to stage. Please give her a warm round of applause, a warm welcome, because you know we need it. It is winter here. So yeah, here we go. How's it going, Rita?
Awesome. Hey, Rosendo, thanks so much. I think a little bit too much confidence, but I'll take it. Hey, everybody, I'm Rita. I'm a developer programs manager here at Snowflake. Very excited to be here to show you all about Snowflake. I see some of you in the chat that are complete beginners. Totally okay. We're going to take it back to 101, teach you about Snowflake. We'll do a little bit of a walkthrough, and then hopefully we'll get you signed up with an account and try it out yourself. So with that, here we go. All right. And feel free to pop in your questions in the chat as they come in. We have the lovely Anna that will be supporting us as well. So if you hear, you hear from her later on, then she's also from our Snowflake team and she'll be able to provide some more details. So great. Today we'll be talking about a Snowflake overview, just talking about the general architecture. What does Snowflake do? What is serverless exactly? We're going to take it back to that. And then how does serverless apply in Snowflake? So I'll talk you through what exactly that means. We'll do a Snowsite UI walkthrough. So we'll get you signed up with a Snowflake account and then some hands-on learning. So we have some quick starts that are step-by-step. We'll walk through that and then be able to show you and get you started in your account. All right. So what is Snowflake? Snowflake, it's a data cloud. It offers a unified view of your data for collaboration analytics. The most important thing that I'd like to call out about Snowflake is the separation of storage and compute. So storage and compute are decoupled. They're managed completely separately, and this allows you to really scale. This also makes Snowflake a fully managed service, which means that there's no infrastructure maintenance that's required from you, which is pretty cool. Snowflake's also a multi-cloud platform. We operate across all the major cloud providers, so GCP, AWS, Azure. You can select whichever cloud fits your needs the best. And it supports a lot of different data types. So you could do structured data, unstructured, semi-structured. So structured data would be anything like tables. Semi-structured would be something along your JSON files. And then unstructured, we'll talk about this. There's some cool capabilities about processing your documents and taking that unstructured data and being able to drive analytics from it. And Snowflake also allows you to share your data. So that's the really exciting part, that all data providers, consumers, they have live access to all the data immediately and they can see all the updates live. So you can share your data securely, internally, externally. You don't have to move that data around to an unlimited number of consumers. It's ready to use. You can start querying. You can also do limitations on how much of the data you want to share. So you can do read-only access. You could do secure views. You can limit what is visible based on the audience. So that's a really cool capability that anyone can be able to see what you're doing, but also be able to query and do their own analytics based on the data that you have stored in Snowflake. So Snowflake has a lot of really exciting products and features. This slide is very hefty, but it just goes to show you what are, and I think there's some things missing in here, but it just goes to show you what are all the offerings that Snowflake has to offer. There are data engineering, there's ML, there's AI, there's open source. There's so many different things that you can do about it. I want to touch on a couple of these that I'm particularly excited about. So in the Gen AI umbrella, we have Snowflake Cortex AI, which just is a conglomerate of all the different AI capabilities that Snowflake has to offer. As a part of that, one thing that I find really cool is Snowflake Cortex. So the way I think of Cortex is kind of like a research assistant, helps you sift through your information. You can find relevant details, answer your questions, make sense of your structured and unstructured data. It's basically like having your own personal data interpreter. Beyond that, we also have Cortex Analyst. So in Cortex Analyst, you can build a chat application using Streamlit, which is an open source tool. I'll touch on that in a second. And then use natural language. So you could use English, I believe there's German, there's all these different languages that you can use just to ask questions. So build a chat application, put your data in there. Say, for example, it's revenue forecast numbers, and then ask it, what does the revenue look like month over month for this year? There's also Cortex Search. You can ask questions of your documents. So again, really going into that unstructured data that you're putting into Snowflake and being able to drive analytics from it. And then Document AI, which I think is very cool. Again, unstructured data, text-heavy paragraphs, a lot of graphical form content. How do you process all that, all those documents, all those various formats, and how do you extract information from it? And Snowflake allows you to do that. Another really cool piece is the Snowflake Marketplace. We'll actually be trying this out later, so I'm excited for you guys to see that. But basically, you can access, share, monetize data sets, different products. They're all housed within Snowflake. They're all searchable. It's basically like a catalog that's available to you. So we'll explore that a little bit and we'll try it out with a data set there. And then I'm sure a lot of you have heard in this Gen AI realm, there's container services. So as a part of Snowpark Container Services, which is our own product, you can run and manage containerized applications in Snowflake. It's also fully managed. So none of that maintenance, none of that backend work is required from you. And Snowflake handles all the container management. And then last but not least, Streamlit. Very cool open source tool. You can take your Python scripts, turn them into apps. You can build dashboards, reports, chat apps. You can ask it questions, and then you use the community cloud platform to deploy. So Streamlit is a very cool open source tool. It's a great Streamlit community. And then you can share your apps with other people so that they can also try them out. All right, so I will just make sure no questions here. All right, let's pop back into it. So who is Snowflake for? It seems like, all the different things that we talked about and all the different products and services that we have, it's basically for anyone. So you could be a data engineer, a data scientist, app developer, ML engineer, all different types of individuals, whether you're new to this entire space or you're just learning to upskill or you're trying to do a career change. Snowflake has those capabilities. So you could do through as an ML engineer, you could do model training, deployment, inference. You could train a model, and then once you do that, you can use Snowflake to deploy and score your models. So then you can provide batch and real-time predictions. You could do app development with Snowflake using various connectors and APIs that we have. You can also use it to build an ETL pipeline if you're a data engineer. And then for data scientists, it's just pre-processing your data, building ML workflows, all of that. So there's a lot of different capabilities that we have. All right, jumping into the topic of today's workshop, so serverless. I'll step back a little bit, and I apologize if some of you are very familiar with this, but I'm just going to take it back for those of you that may not be. What exactly is serverless? And so this is just an overall conceptual view of it, not really talking about how it applies to Snowflake yet. But serverless is where storing and accessing your data without managing any of the underlying compute. So you don't have to manage your servers, any of the storage, any of the backups. You only pay for the compute power that's used when your data is actively processing. So none of that idle time that you have for your server, you're not worried about that. Storage and processing is separate. You leverage the cloud provider's infrastructure. So there's a dedicated storage layer for that. This really lowers a lot of operational maintenance that's required for troubleshooting or for security. And it really reduces costs. So it's a very cool capability to have to where you can just put in your data and start actually building with it. So how does this apply specifically to Snowflake? The way that I think about it is there's three main layers. So we have the cloud services, which is basically the metadata layer. I think of this as the brains of what you're doing. You have your virtual warehouse, which is what we call compute for Snowflake. And then there's the database storage, self-explanatory. That's the storage layer where all your data is stored. Some of the additional layers that you would have here, you'd have a database layer that would include your database, your schemas, your objects, such as your tables. And then you'd have a data sharing layer. So you would share your data across different organizations. So how exactly does serverless work on Snowflake? So as we mentioned, virtual warehouses, they consist of a single cluster of compute resources. In Snowflake, each warehouse, you can think of that as a separate compute engine. So it provides the CPU, the memory, and the virtual compute resources for you. You scale that storage and that warehouse based on the compute needs that you have. You allocate the resources of the workload. And basically what Snowflake is doing is it's scaling the resources based on your processing needs. And so you don't have to provision any servers or clusters to keep up with that. So it's dynamically adjusting the amount of computing power based on your workload. So a warehouse would just allocate resources to each query that you have in Snowflake, and it would begin executing those queries. If you don't have enough resources available, then Snowflake starts queuing those and they're handled sequentially. So this means no management's required. Snowflake handles all the data partitioning, the clustering, indexing, optimizing your queries for you. There's no infrastructure maintenance. And a really cool concept here is that there's multi-cluster feature, which I'll talk about in a second. And then you can also resize your warehouses up and down. So say, for example, you started with a small warehouse, you realize, hey, my compute needs, my resource is a lot more. You can scale it up and you have the ability to do that real time. So right now, Snowflake offers 10 different warehouse sizes. So you can use a warehouse for executing SQL queries, DML commands, updating all your data in different ways. So from extra small to 6XL. So since the warehouse is actually for compute and not storage, this is where your queries are actually going to be processed. So while storage is just as the name suggests, compute is actual virtual warehouse. So from basically the way that I think about these warehouses is that an extra small warehouse is for 1 hour, you would use 1 credit. And then based on that, every time you up your size, you start doubling the amount of credits you're using per hour. So by the time you get to 6XL, in 1 hour, you'd be using 512 credits. So based on your needs, 6XL warehouse would be extremely powerful for analyzing big data sets, controlling costs, all of that. But most people stay in that, the extra small to large range. And like I mentioned, you can scale these up or down. So you could start at extra small, realize, hey, now I have more data that I need to analyze. I can move up. If you need to move back down, you can do that too. Snowflake has those capabilities to alter that. And I'll show you a little bit of that when we go into the UI on how that works. And then dynamically combining storage and compute. So storage and compute are separate. So you're never going to run out of space. You can resize it instantly. And the cool thing that I mentioned a little bit earlier is multi-cluster warehouses. So you can have multiple clusters in a single warehouse. You can set a minimum and a maximum. So like I mentioned earlier, there's a queue that builds up for your queries as they're running. If you don't want that queue and there's some sort of backlog, that starts happening, then what you can do is set a minimum and a maximum. So say, for example, I set a minimum of 1, and then I move to a max of 3. When I start running out of space on that one cluster, then temporarily we'll move to the second cluster. The queries will keep running, third cluster, so on and so forth. And it's all temporary. So it's switching back and forth based on what your needs are. Another really cool feature is auto suspend and auto resume, as the name suggests. So auto suspend after a certain number of minutes of inactivity, the warehouse will turn off. You can specify this number of minutes too, and this really helps with credit consumption and not using up your compute. And then there's also auto resume. So whenever there's activity that kicks in, that happens on it, the warehouse will kick into action. So we'll show you, you can alter that as well. There's toggles for it within Snowflake and being able to change that. And then last but not least, we have serverless tasks. So if you have tasks that are going to be short execution duration, you want to run them over and over again, but you want to schedule them without having to worry about what is the warehouse size that I need. You can set these up in Snowflake. So you create a task, omit the warehouse argument, specify the initial warehouse size. So usually start with extra small, and then Snowflake will ignore that value. And then after a few successful runs, it'll figure out what it needs to do. So it allows you to schedule the execution of a SQL statement. Snowflake takes care of all the heavy lifting for you. So it manages all those tasks, and warehouse size and idle policy are automatically managed, and Snowflake optimizes those based on your pipeline or your use case. So it's taking into account what is it that you're actually doing, what is the task, and adjusting it that way. All right, and I'm going to pop into some of the questions before we jump into the UI a bit, but let's see. Um, for students, so I believe there is a question here, Rosendo, around I'm a student, are there discounts? So we actually have a student trial account that's available that you can sign up for. So when you do that, I can share the link in the chat shortly. But for that, it's a 120-day trial. So you get access to 400 credits and you have that over 120 days. A standard trial is 30 days. So we have that availability to students. So that's pretty exciting. All right. And then now let's move over to the Snow Site UI walkthrough. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so to get started, I just wanted to get everyone set up with a Snowflake trial account. So if you're able to pop into this link, then you can set it up. All you would need to do is do your first name, your last name. It can be your personal email, and you can put, if you don't have a company, that's totally fine. Just add none in that, and then select the role that closely applies to you. So I'll fill this out with you all. And then from here, this is where you would select standard as your account type and then choose your cloud provider. For myself, I'm going to use AWS. So if you would like to select that, if there's another one that you would like to use, AWS, I believe right now for a lot of our AI capabilities, those are mostly publicly available. So that's why I would recommend using that, but you're welcome to choose what is best for you, and then you will get started. So I'll pause for just a second, allow you all to do that, and then I'll pull up my account as well on the side. All right, I'm going to share a new window. Here we go. All right, everyone good to go? Yes, it does ask for company email and name. You can use your personal email, and then you can put none for the company name. For the edition, choose standard. All right, and then if you have any other questions, which language do we recommend? Standard edition should be fine. Which language do we recommend? We'll be using, I'm sorry, I'm not sure which question, what you mean by that question, but we'll be using AWS for the tutorial as a cloud provider in the standard edition. All right. If there's any other questions, pop them in the chat. So that's a 30-day trial. If you want to go to the student trial, you can go to this link. I will drop this. And that'll give you 120 days. All right. And then I will share my screen. Nope, sorry, Rosanna, could we go to the screen that's popped up? Awesome. All right, so This is Snowflake. This is the UI. So I'm just going to talk through a few things quickly for you. I'm just going to pull up my list, make sure I cover everything. So there's a lot of different things that you can create here. Some of these you can see some of my worksheets already. Whenever you want to create a worksheet, there's SQL worksheets, Python worksheets, there's Snowflake native notebooks, which are really cool. We'll talk about those later. You can create a Streamlit app, like we mentioned, dashboards. You can add data yourself. So from CSV files, you can load data into a stage. A lot of cool capabilities there. But for the purposes of just giving you a quick overview, I will show you how it works to create a worksheet. So here, when you actually create a worksheet, it shows you're basically starting from scratch. The account admin is the main uh, user that I like to use because it just grants a lot of permissions to the account, and a lot of our workshops that we have utilize account admin. If you ever want to change your admin settings, you can go here and you can swap the role. So some labs that we have use account admin and some use sysadmin. So those are usually the main ones that we have. Here, like I mentioned earlier, this is where you can see your warehouse size. So this is where we start automatically. All Snowflake trial accounts start at extra small as the compute warehouse. So here you can see the details of it. You have an extra small warehouse. It's currently suspended because I've had no activity on it. The minimum cluster count is just one. I don't have multiple clusters set up on this. The scaling is standard. Auto suspend is set up for 600 seconds and auto resume is enabled. So those are all the different capabilities. If I wanted to swap my warehouse, I could go to this side under admin in this menu here, go to warehouses, and I could change one of these warehouses. So I could click into it, I could swap that, or I could also add a new warehouse. And then I can create a warehouse name, change the type. Snowpark optimized, I wouldn't recommend this. This is for extremely larger memory and like very intensive operations, very large data sets. So I wouldn't recommend that. So standard is generally the default that we have there. And then the size is extra small. There's some advanced settings here. So like I mentioned, you can shut off auto resume. So you wouldn't have to have that. As soon as there's activity, the warehouse resumes. If you have auto suspend, you can set up after how much time has passed to where the warehouse suspends. And then for multi-cluster warehouses, here, this is where you can set the minimum and the maximum number of clusters. Query acceleration, I'll skip here. It's a little bit more complex. But then like we mentioned here, this is the credit per hour. So there's a credit consumption table that pulls up. So because I'm in extra small, it's 1 credit per hour. All right. Just make sure there's no questions. All right. And you don't have to download Snowflake. I think that was one of the questions. It's just available through a URL. So once you created the account, you're able to access it. And then, so if I were to go and I wanted to load in some data, I could go here, go to add data, load files into a stage. So I already have some databases and stages set up. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But if I was doing a Cortex Analyst demo and I had a schema that was set up there, my stage would be raw data. And then from my local machine, I would be able to upload a CSV file for raw data and then be able to create a table from that. So that's a pretty cool capability. So going back to where we were, we can create our own database here. So what I do is I can you can use the role. You have to specify the role. So I would specify role account admin. I would create warehouse, and I could just call it Rita's warehouse, and then create a database, which can just be Rita's database. And then usually what you want to do here, so if you want to run a specific line of a query, if you're on a Mac, it's going to be command enter. On a PC, it's going to be control enter, and you run just that line. Or if you hit just this button, it's only going to run that first line right there. But if you want to run everything here, you're going to have to go here and hit run all. And right there, you created a database successfully. And then if I wanted to create a schema, I could also do, I could do a hands-on lab schema right there. And then that's created successfully too. So it's very easy. If you want to ever drop a database, ever want to drop a warehouse that you've created, it's just the same thing. It's just drop warehouse, data warehouse.
Arita, sorry to interrupt here.
Yeah.
Some folks in chat are just asking how you got to this part of the UI from the original sign up page.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I don't have the screen pulled up, so thanks for chiming in.
No
So if you
worries.
go to home here, you're going to go create and go create SQL worksheet. And that'll take you there. And then I have this worksheet here, but what I'll do is let's run this again so that you guys all have it on your screens. So you can run through it with me. I'll pause for a second while everyone gets to it. All right. And so you can do that yourself. Try it out. Try running one line. Try dropping a database. You can do all of those different things. And for sample data, we will actually, can I zoom in? Yes, I can. Sorry about that. Here we go. How's that? And we'll actually do a sample download and use in a second. So we'll try that out. Amazing. All right. So now that you're a little bit acquainted with how Snowflake is and how things work here, let's try it out. So what I'm going to do is pull up, and then this link is probably one we'll need to drop into the chat, but we're going to try out one of these quick starts. So Snowflake has what we call quick starts. And as a part of that, what we do is it's basically step-by-step hands-on learning. And we have different quick starts for different workloads, for different products, features, everything. I think for some reason I can't see my... So I will navigate you all to... Can you all see this? All right, so let's go to quickstarts.snowflake.com. And here you can see all the different quick starts that we have. And for this one, what we'll be doing is Tasty Bites, which is our own, it's a fictional food truck that we've created that we use for a lot of our data analysis. Tasty Bites. Actually, let me just double check. Collaboration is what I'll search. So I'll let you guys navigate to that on quickstarts.snowflake.com. Search collaboration. And it'll be this first one right here. Everyone good there? All right, so let's try this out together. So what we're going to do here is we'll learn how to access the marketplace. We'll acquire some data, load it into our account, create a view, do some SQL functions, and then see how there's Snowflake charts available for visual insights. So we'll go into this second piece right here. And so you can navigate through all of these. And each quick start is pretty cool. It tells you the estimated time that it takes to complete it. So similar to what we did before, we're all logged into Snowflake. We all created a worksheet. What I'm actually going to say is that let's create a new worksheet in Snowflake. So I'm going to be swapping through some tabs, but let's do new SQL worksheet. I should have that created. And then let's go back here. And we are going to rename that worksheet to be Tasty Bites Collaboration. So renaming a worksheet is actually pretty easy. You go here. Sorry, I'm going to close some of these other ones that I have to simplify it. You're just seeing this one. So whenever you want to rename a worksheet, you just double click right here and you can just copy paste what the name of that worksheet is. Now it's renamed. All right, I'm just checking the questions, make sure we're good. All right, back to the quick start. So we'll go here, and a lot of what our quick starts do is that there is a GitHub repo that's associated with it. So you can go to a lot of these will route you to GitHub where all the files for the data are. So we'll go click on this button, this green button right here, and this will take you to GitHub. So this is the Tasty Bites Zero to Snowflake collaboration worksheet. So this has all the data in there. What you're going to do, so there's different ways that you can do this. The easiest way, you can download this raw file and then upload it. I would say let's not do that one because it's a little bit more complex, but what we'll do here is copy the raw file. So copy this, hit this button right here. I'll zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna hit this button right here, copy. And then let's go back to here. We're going to paste it into our worksheet. And then really important here, if you just hit enter, it's just going to run the last line. You're going to get an error because it doesn't actually see what you're doing here. So apologies, I'm going to have to pull this up. So if I were just to hit enter on this last line, command enter, they get an error because we haven't set up everything else that's a part of this data, this file. So you're going to go to this top right here and you are going to hit run all. Nope, what error am I getting? Check does not exist. Oh, you know what I did here? I did not even create the warehouse. All right, copy that. Let's go here. So before that, let's set our role. So we'll do create use role account admin, create warehouse, TB warehouse, create database, TB101. I apologize, I ran this morning and it worked, so let's actually going to try running all this again. And let me just check. All right. Try it now, see if it works. TB101 analytics. Apologies. Let's see. Okay, actually, sorry. Give me 1 second. Let's try this again. Okay, so let's go back to this. Let's copy the data. Let's paste it in here and let's not run it yet. And now let's go back here and start at step 1 and copy this cell right here. So now we're We're back to the quick start. We're doing investigating days with 0 sales, and we're going to step 1 in copying all of this. This is telling you the role, the warehouse, the database, everything there. Copy that. Put it into here. Paste it. Then now let's hit run all. Not sure what's happening here. It does not exist. I apologize. Okay, let's pivot. See where I did this. All right. Sorry about that. This would happen. Control to go another step back and start. All right. So maybe let's pivot over to a different quick start. I apologize. This would happen when you're doing a workshop. We tried it just this morning. Let's see. Check does not exist. All right. Let's try out a notebook instead. So we're going to go to a different quick start now. So we'll go back to quickstarts.snowflake.com. And we are going to search notebooks. And it's going to be this first one right here, Getting Started Guide with Snowflake Notebooks. All right. So Snowflake has native notebooks. There's different cells that are programmed in here. It's interactive, and it's for Python and SQL. So you can do data analysis. You can explore and experiment with your data that's already in Snowflake. You can run notebooks on schedule. So there's a lot of really cool capabilities here. So we have a Snowflake account already set up. We have, we'll be downloading a IPYNB notebook file and from our Snowflake Notebooks demo repo, and then we'll be able to load that demo notebook into Snowflake. So to do this, you can create a Snowflake notebook directly in the UI, or you can upload a Python notebook from Snowflake. So let's go back to our Snowflake account and let's go to, in this right-hand section here, you'll see notebooks. And then at this top, or the left hand, and then at the top right, you see you can either create a notebook from a repository or import from a file. In this lab, we'll be doing importing from a file. All right. So going back to this, now we'll actually download a notebook. So we have a Snowflake notebooks demo repo existing. There's a bunch of existing notebooks in this repo. So you click that, and this is how you'll get here. And you can click any of these, but I'm going to go with dashboard with Streamlit. And so this is the file. It's the one that's going to end in IPYNB. And I'm going to download this raw file onto my machine. All right. Then I'm going to go back to notebooks, go here. I'm going to import the file. I think it was Streamlit is what the file had. Let me just make sure what it was called. Build a dashboard with Snowflake notebooks. Here it is. I'm going to double click it. And I'll choose a database. So earlier, what I did is I created this Rita database. So you would have created one potentially with your own name. It's a public database. And use a compute warehouse and then run on the warehouse. And you could rename this too if you wanted. You'll hit create. And there you go. And so now your notebook is here. So based on that file, we were able to import that notebook. And then what you can do is you can run different cells in this. So you're importing, you're generating data. You could run all these cells that are here. So it's a pretty cool functionality. So you can hit run all if you'd like, and it's going to start running each of these cells. Any other questions? All right. And then when these turn green on the sides, that means they run successfully. All right. So what I'm going to do, let's go back and try to do another quick start to load the data. So what we can do is pause the collaboration, and then we pause, make sure there's no questions. So how do we use this notebook specifically? So this notebook is basically helping you build a dashboard. So from this, what you're doing is you have this data set that has YouTube channel metrics, and then from it, you're able to display those metrics into the Streamlit AI. So as you're seeing this, it's showing you all the different results. So these are the stats that you're seeing. You can interact with all of these cells and see all your data there. You can see it as a data frame and then have the charts here. So a lot of cool functionalities. And then if you had, so let's try something else here. I apologize for the error with the other quick start. Let's try. Setting up some more data. All right. So we will go to quick starts. All right. Let's try this one. Okay, so we're going to go to quickstarts.snowflake.com and search for semi-structured.
Hi, Rita.
Hey, Rosanna.
Before we jump into this next piece here, there are some questions about some of the notebooks that we were previously doing. I think here, the Great Dorso asks, contact your admin to get access to a database in Schema, and it seems like some other folks are getting a similar message when they try to create the notebook itself.
Okay, So I think for creating the notebook, first you have to create a database and schema that you can put that into. So we'll go back to where I did that. You can create your own. So let me share this tab. So to create your own database and schema, so this would be what we would do here. You would use the role account admin, create a warehouse, and I named mine Rita, but I can name this one Anna. Since that one already exists, so if I try to do this again, it'll tell me that it already exists. Create database and DB, and then you'll run all three of these. Oops, sorry.
And while you're doing that, we got an interesting question that came in from Wake Codes. So does a notebook have to be tied to a database?
Yes, it does.
Awesome.
Because that's how you load it in there. You select the database that it's tied into, but you can create your own database.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosendo. All right. So everyone was able to do that successfully. And then after this, you'll create schema. And I'll do this as lab. And your schema was created successfully. All right. Any concerns, questions there? So now, when you go to your notebook and you are going to be importing that file that we had earlier. I'm not sure why it doesn't show up. Here. This is where you'll select that database that you created. And then choose the schema for it. Copy and paste the chat for how to create the database. Yes, we can do that. So you'll run that was for the where you can rename the warehouse as long as you're using account admin. You'll create the warehouse, rename it whatever you like, then create the database, run those first three. After those are successful, then you create the schema. All right. How are we doing there? Up to notebooks. Create the notebook, import from the file. I'm just doing this in my database that I created earlier. Public, compute, and then run on the warehouse. All right. Am I doing well there? And while you all do that, what I'll do is I'll show you a little bit more about how to do the marketplace, which was something that was supposed to be in the other lab. So we have shared that link with you, so try that out. Um, there might be some just error time that's happening there, but under data products in Snowsite, you would see marketplace here. So this is what I mentioned earlier, where you have all these different apps. There's different AI products, the data that you can, data sets that you can load. So here, if I search for frostbite, so a lot of cool frostbite data sources here. And so you can see the price that's associated with them. We can upload your own. You can monetize off of them. So if I were to click on one of these, you would have this get button right here. So this is where you would be able to get this data. A new database is created whenever you get new data. And then you have to make sure that you grant access to the role. So we've been using, in addition to account admin, if you wanted to add a role. So account admin is by default. You can add in sysadmin here if you need it for anything. And then when you hit get, that data is available to you, and then you can query from it. So here you go to query data, and you can see now this database was created. The schema is public, and you can query this sample query that's here, and you can see all the. So from here, what we're trying to figure out is what are the top categories for the US for different locations. And there's actually also a chart functionality here that Snowflake has. And you can see this displayed in chart format. You can see the data on the sides. You can change the different columns, the axes, the orientation, the bars, x-axis, y-axis, and then this is how you can see a chart functionality for it too. Oh, I've been talking about this and no one can see it. Sorry. So you would run this here. This is sample query. This is the database. You can see the results in text format and then also a chart. We can change all of these features on the side. Any questions there?
Hi, Rita. It looks like we have a question from someone asking where do they grant permissions from the database to the notebooks.
So you could do this through a query, I believe. You did grant usage on, and then put your database name here to the role account admin, I believe. And that's how you would do it. So this is the query here. I'll put this in the chat. All right. How's that going for everyone? And like Anna mentioned, replace the name of your database since um, that's the name of mine there. Great, I'm glad it worked. I apologize. It's a little bit harder because my account is already set up, so sometimes um, it gets a little bit tricky. And if you ever do forget these commands, this is a great segue into some of the things that we have is we have Snowflake docs. So for any questions that you may have, docs are available for this. So I'll actually share docs.snowflake.com if you're able to see this. And here you can search for anything. So if I wanted to say granting permissions, it would show here you grant privileges. And it gives you a lot of examples of how these different things work. And so docs are a really great resource to have there. And then there, from our developer website, there are also, so I showed quickstarts.snowflake.com. There's also Solutions Center, the Developer Solutions Center. So in the Solutions Center, we have a lot of different solutions that are available to you for different use cases. So if you wanted to build AI-powered BI apps, you could go here. There's a repo that you can fork. There's a related quick start that's there, an architecture diagram, and it shows you a blog that's related to it. So this is basically what I think of as a comprehensive tool for a use case that you're looking at specifically, and it would tell you how you can learn about that from end to end. So all those resources are there. And then we also have a Snowflake Developers YouTube channel. That YouTube channel has a lot of great videos. How and where did you create the warehouse? Sorry, I'm going to jump back because I think there's some questions and we're almost at time. Where did you create the warehouse again? Go back to Snowflake. So when I'm creating the warehouse, it is through this right here. So mine was actually Rita, so I'll simplify this to. And this is how you create the warehouse. And after you've created, and if you want to use it, then you would say use warehouse. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I know we covered a lot of different things here today. I apologize. Um, Tech issues I feel like are always the case whenever you're presenting live, but thanks for bearing with me, and I hope at least you got started and got to learn about Snowflake, and now you have an account that you're able to go through and explore with. So there's a lot of really cool capabilities, and would really encourage you to use docs. Our Snowflake Developers YouTube channel has a lot of great videos that'll walk you step by step. There's a lot of other quick starts that you can explore. So lots of great things there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rita. Very informative session. For all the folks that are newbies and so with Snowflake out there, I'm hoping you learned something. It looks like a lot of you did. I learned something myself. Really great stuff. Thank you so much again, Rita, for your time here. And once again, folks, we have another Snowflake session coming up right after this. So if you want to keep on using the things that you just learned, definitely another great opportunity for you to do so. So keep it locked in. For now, that's the time that we have. I will see you again shortly. And Rita, thank you so much once again. Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.